The Lighthouse Keeper's Secret. Harper had heard the whispers, the villagers' warnings about the lighthouse, the stories of those who ventured too close and never returned. Superstition, she told herself. Just another folktale spun to thrill gullible travelers like her. But tonight, sleep wouldn't come. The wind howled outside her window, but it wasn't just wind. It was a voice, a summons, threading through the trees like a secret. Her skin prickled. The air hummed with something alive. Against her better judgment, she grabbed her coat and stepped into the night. The cold bit at her cheeks, the fog swallowing the path ahead. And there, through the shifting mist, the lighthouse loomed, its beam cutting the darkness like a blade. No light should have been shining. The place had been abandoned for decades. Yet, as Harper took her first step forward, the ground beneath her trembled, as if something deep below had awakened.
And it knew she was coming.
The path to the lighthouse was a jagged scar along the cliffs, crumbling stones slick with sea spray, each step threatening to send her tumbling into the abyss below. But that pulsing beam of light called to her, cutting through the fog like a blade. It wasn't just guiding her, it was luring her. When she reached the base, her breath hitched. The door hung open, just a sliver, but it shouldn't have been. The villagers swore it was always locked, rusted shut for decades. Yet now it swayed gently, groaning on ancient hinges like an invitation or a warning. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of salt and damp rot, and something else, something metallic, something wrong. Harper's pulse roared in her ears, but she stepped forward anyway. Because the real horror wasn't that the door was open. It was what had opened it. The air inside clung to her lungs, dense with salt, heavy with decades of dust that swirled like ghosts in the dim light shadow, its iron steps groaning under her weight. But at the very top, a golden glow pulsed, warm as candlelight, yet wrong somehow, like the guttering flame of a dying lantern. With each step, the sensation grew worse. The air inside clung to her lungs, dense with salt, heavy with decades of dust that swirled like ghosts in the dim light shadow, its iron steps groaning under her weight. But at the very top, a golden glow pulsed, warm as candlelight, yet wrong somehow, like the guttering flame of a dying lantern. With each step, the sensation grew worse. Something was watching, not just from the darkness around her, but from the walls themselves. As if the lighthouse had absorbed the gazes of every soul who'd ever set foot inside. The higher she climbed, the louder the hum grew. A deep, resonant vibration that thrummed in her bones. It wasn't just sound, it was a voice, a call. And it wasn't coming from the top of the tower. It was coming from below. Something had followed her in. Harper's pulse hammered in her throat as she pushed open the lantern room door, only to find it barren, hollow, a skeletal chamber of rusted metal and fractured glass. Moonlight sliced through the broken panes, illuminating a lone, weathered desk, its surface etched with deep grooves, like claw marks. And there, bathed in the eerie glow of the still-burning beacon, lay a leather-bound journal, splayed open as if waiting for her. The pages whispered as she turned them, brittle with age, reeking of salt and something faintly metallic. Blood or rust, she couldn't tell. Star charts sprawled across the parchment, but these were no ordinary constellations. The lines connected in impossible ways, forming sigils that made her vision swim. Between them, frantic scribbles. The light must never falter. They come when darkness prevails. Keep the beacon alive. And then, just below, in fresh, smeared ink, as if written moments before she arrived. She's here. A floorboard creaked behind her. The door swung shut, and the lantern's flame, though there was no wind, snuffed out. The beacon above her sputtered, once, twice, then died. Darkness swallowed the room whole. The air turned glacial, searing Harper's lungs with each breath. And then, whispers, not from one direction, but everywhere, hissing against her neck, slithering from the walls, pressing in like a chorus of drowned voices. "You let the light fade," they murmured. "Now they see us." A jagged hand crack split the silence, the lantern flaring back to life with a sickly, green-tinged glow. And there, where empty air had been a heartbeat before, stood a figure, the keeper. His uniform hung in rotted strips, his skin gray and waxy, stretched too tight over bone. But his eyes, black, bottomless, hungry, his lips parted, unspooling words in a voice like grinding stone. "You shouldn't have come up here." Behind him, the window reflected not the sea, but countless shapes writhing in the dark outside, watching, waiting. And now, no glass between them. His words slithered through the air like smoke, carrying the weight of centuries. "You shouldn't be here," he repeated, his voice fraying at the edges, as if unraveling from some long-forgotten moment in time. Harper's throat tightened. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice breaking like glass underfoot. The keeper's hollow eyes remained fixed on the churning sea beyond the window. "I kept the light," he murmured, his skeletal fingers brushing the rusted railing. "For years, for lifetimes." A gust of wind screamed through the broken panes, carrying with it the distant wet sound of something scrabbling against the rocks below. "But one night," his voice cracked, "one night I let it fade." His head snapped toward her, neck bending at an impossible angle, and they saw their chance. Outside, the waves didn't crash, they writhed, because the shapes weren't in the water anymore. They were on the stairs, clicking, scraping, climbing.
The walls groaned as the sea below heaved, not with waves, but with something darker, Shadows coiled beneath the surface like serpents, their forms twisting just beneath the spray. The beacon guttered wildly, plunging the room into stuttering darkness. And with every flicker, the whispers sharpened. Closer, hungrier. Harper's muscles locked, her pulse a frantic drumbeat in her ears. Every instinct shrieked at her to run, but her legs refused to obey, as if the very air had turned to tar. Then, the keeper lurched forward, his skeletal grip crushing her wrist as he pressed something cold and heavy into her palm. A key, tarnished brass, still sticky with salt or blood. "You must keep it burning," he rasped, his voice splintering like old wood. "No matter what you hear, no matter what calls to you." The walls groaned as the sea below heaved, not with waves, but with something darker. Shadows coiled beneath the surface like serpents, their forms twisting just beneath the spray.